when I thought about what I want to see from Ayo this season, I thought about something that he has proven to do that I really want him to continue to do because it's something the team needs. And then also see him improve in an area where he hasn't really taken any steps through his first 3 seasons. And it's an area where the Bulls could really need it. So let's start with this. You mentioned his games played through the first 3 years of his career, Dave. That's where I started. I did a similar thing with Zach for, reasons of like, hey, prove that you're healthy so we can trade you. With Ayo, it's whatever your role might be, and it will change night to night, most likely. Play 75 or more games this season. Mm-hmm. Continue to be the available Ayo that we have known you to be. Availability, one of the best abilities, right? That's what we always say. So continue to prove that you are that guy, that workhorse who's always available when called upon. And in the meantime, you were talking on our show, I think Wednesday ago, about the absence of DeMar DeRozan when it comes to the Bulls and free throw attempts this upcoming season. And we were talking about it with Kobe. And if Kobe can continue to increase his attempts getting to the free throw line. I was curious, so I went and looked at Ayo's. Ayo's free throw rate in his first 3 seasons, 0.146, 0.144, 0.146. So, AKA for every 10 field goal attempts that Ayo has, he takes 1.5 free throws. Comparatively, just so you can kind of get the terms of what we're talking about here, DeMar DeRozan last season, free throw rate, 0.452. He took a free throw almost every other time he took a field goal attempt. DeMar's career free throw rate, hilarious, 0.407. I want to see Ayo bring that 0.146 from last season above 0.2. So for every 10 field goal attempts you take, get to the free throw line 2 times. That's what I want to see from Ayo. I think it is achievable because I also was curious about Kobe and the way that we saw him be more aggressive last season. Kobe's 22-23 free throw rate was 0.118, which was actually a bit of a dip from his season prior. And he increased that this season from 0.118 to 0.215. Huge jump for Kobe in that free throw rate. We're not sure how many shots Ayo's going to get, but we know he likes to get out in transition, use his speed, and get to the rim. We've also seen that he's built up his frame a bit more and has some more muscle. Can you use that combination of strength and speed and your aggressiveness, probably pushing the pace a bit faster without DeMar this season for the Bulls offensively? Get to the line more, Ayo. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think that's a great one for all these players, right? Because when you talk about creating efficient offense, so much of that, like even just in the definition of true shooting percentage, which is an indicator of shooting efficiency, it takes into account 2s, 3s, and free throws. So I think that is a huge way that players can help improve their scoring efficiency. It helps the team as a whole because you're putting yourself in a position where you don't have to rely on shot making all the time. You can get to the free throw line. You can change the pace of the game. You can put the other team on their heels and make them have to adjust the way they're defending you due to foul trouble. So I think for all these young players, that's always going to be like the big step forward that they take in order to create efficient offense. And yeah, as much as like Zach coming back and Kobe having a chance to step up, I do think that there's still a big DeMar-shaped hole in the Bulls offense, and somebody's going to need to help fill that. I think the free throw line is a great place to do that for Ayo.
DeMar-shaped hole is going to be the song, the title of Kendrick Lamar's new song that drops.
But I also think that for that to happen, like that means there will also be a change somewhat in his game, because Ayo doesn't go up to get fouled. Ayo goes up to score. And Ayo is faster than everyone. You know what I mean? So he's trying to beat you down the floor. That's why he's always off that off-leg layup was a part of his game. You know, he's not trying to get that contact. You know what I mean? Like that. So if you see that, I think that means his game has changed a little bit, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that it's a negative. It's a good thing to get yourself to the free throw line and get easy points for yourself. That's what all the great scorers do. So if that occurs too, that just adds an awesome another wrinkle to his game for sure.
I think it just speaks generally to him getting into the paint. Like, I mean, DeMar, for example, he's getting fouled at the rim, but he's also getting fouled on jump shots. And I think if you just put yourself in position where you're forcing help, a lot of good things happen from that. And that starts with just getting downhill. And that's something that Ayo has shown he's really good at.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Dave, what do you got for your prove it for Ayo this season?
So I went over all the things that Ayo did. Obviously, he improved on pretty much all those things. So honestly, when I was putting this together, my first thought was just to put wash, rinse, repeat. Like, keep doing what you're doing, young fella. Like, I don't need you to change anything at all. But then I thought about kind of what I've been talking about, what the Bulls offense is going to be and what I think is going to look like. And they are going to be the best thing they're going to be is a transition kind of basketball team with a Giddy, with a Kobe, with a Zach, and with an Ayo. That's running. They're going to be in transition. So what do you need to do to be in transition? You need to get rebounds, and you need to be getting up the floor and looking for who's open with you and give them the ball, or you need to be scoring it yourself. So for me, the proof is for Ayo this season were to improve his defensive rebounds and to bring that up, because if he's getting those defensive rebounds, that means that Ayo Dosunmu is getting the ball and he's getting out on the break, and he is running down the floor and getting up for everyone else, man. So for me, I didn't go crazy with it with his defensive rebounds. I asked him to go to, I think I asked him to go to, oh, that's what I said, 2.5. No, I think those numbers incorrect on that, but that's not your fault. That is my fault.
Oh, no.
Because I guarantee I gave it to you correctly. But I'll roll with that, the 2.5, because the defensive rebounds he had the season before were 2.1. The season before that, it was 2.2. His highest was 2.4. So that's probably why I put that 2.5 right there for his rebounding, because I wanted to go 3 rebounds a game for him to get that defensive lead. But I kind of pulled back a little bit on that. As far as the assists, the 3.6 assists, the most he had in his career was 3.3, and that was his rookie year. So he hasn't had that. This next year he was 2.6, and the year that just occurred he was 3.2. What I found interesting is his turnovers were 1.4, 1.2, and 1.4. Like he doesn't really turn the ball over, but he doesn't have a ton of assists either. You know, but I feel like if he can increase those assist numbers and increase those defensive rebounding numbers, that means he's getting the ball and he's out and he's running and he's looking for guys. And Ayo's a willing passer for sure.
Right.
Like, he enjoys finding guys, and he has no problem getting them the ball. But as he has shown us, he has no problem getting the ball and scoring on his own either. He has already proven that he can be a scorer in this league. He can do those things. Now I want those other parts of his games, numbers-wise, to reflect just what we think about Ayo Dosunmu. So you're getting those boards and you're running, and you're getting those ball and you're getting it out to everybody on the sides of the floor, running down the middle of the paint. I think that'd be an awesome thing for him.
And that's what we talk about when we're saying, like, the Bulls are going to have to change who they are a little bit on offense. They can't be this, like, slow, get into the mid-range and create half-court offense like that kind of team anymore without DeRozan. So you do have to manufacture points. I think transition and just grab and go is a great way to do that. And I think it informs what Matt was saying in terms of getting to the foul line too. If you can put pressure on the rim, that's where you get fouls. That's where you create efficient offense. And if you can't do it in the half court, you got to find other ways. So yeah, I really like that one too.
Yeah, and look, your point about the assists and Ayo getting out and running, it makes sense, because we know, like, we saw plenty of one-man fast breaks from Ayo last year, where it's just like, hey, I see a transition opportunity. The defense looks a little flat on their feet getting back, so I'm just going to go. But again, circling back to maybe a faster-paced offense for the Bulls than we've seen in quite some time coming up this year, maybe having some other horses to run with, who are like, okay, if Ayo's out on the break, then I also want to get out on the break. Hopefully a healthy Zach LaVine, maybe even a healthy, capable of running Lonzo. And that is, a quasi version of what we saw in that very successful first half of the 21-22 season, was the Bulls accentuating their offense, supplementing their offense with those easy transition and fast break opportunities. And I think wanting Ayo to be always involved in that, or involved in it more and as much as possible, is a really good call. Somebody in the comments also asked about Ayo dunks. Colin did. How many dunks did I have last year? I just looked that up on B-Ball Ref. He had 20 dunks his rookie year, 9 his second year, and 13 last year.
Sounds about right.
I love an Ayo dunk. That one, was it against the Pacers, that really tight game where he had the ball at the top of the key out of a timeout and just kind of like glanced over at Billy Donovan and then just like boom, like darted around his guy and slammed home that dunk for a game winner? God, that was dope.
Yeah, that's the stuff I love about Ayo, man. Like, just I'm not waiting for anybody. You know what I mean? Understanding it's time to go, and I'm gonna go, and this is the opportunity I have. It's the things we talk about with young players all the time, where we're like, dude, there aren't gonna be plays drawn up for you. You just got to get it, and you got to go. Ayo learned that early as a rookie. He learned that very, very early that things aren't going to be drawn up for him, but I can still impact this team, because as long as it's the right play on the floor, nobody's going to be mad if you make it or you miss it, as long as it's the right play that he's doing, and he's always doing the right play. So I appreciate that about him, man.
Process over results, Dave. You love to hear it.
All right, what do you got, Goat?
I think mine was kind of an extension of just what we saw last year. I want to see him continue to shoot at that same level. And, even if it's a step below where he was towards the end of last year, I mentioned like just under 5 attempts per game after January 13th, shooting 43.5%. Like, I mean, that's just outrageously good. So what I want to see from him this year is shoot 40+% from 3 and attempt 6 threes per 36 minutes.
Okay.
And the
So
reason
how big of
I
a
did
jump
that,
would that be per 36 wise?
So last year it was about
Step
5 per 36 in those
5,
final however many games. And I just want to see him continue to get more shots up. Like, I think that's really what will open up his game. And I remember when I did the story talking with Peter Patton at kind of the start of the year last year, he was saying that like so much of like creating offense for guys is just like having that runway to the basket and being able to like make decisions when you have the avenue. And people are going to close out really hard if you're going to shoot 40% on that kind of three. Like, that's considered good high volume shooting. And if you can continue to shoot 40% on those, that's going to make you a really, really dangerous offensive weapon where you're hitting spot up threes and you're also drawing really hard closeouts to where you can get downhill and do the foul drawing stuff to where you can, make the second guy have to slide over, and now you can create the pass opening to the guy in the opposite corner. And that's the kind of thing that I think takes you from like solid role player to like very high end starter. And I feel like you've seen that in guys like Derek White or Drew Holiday, where they've really evolved their game to be high level shooters, and that opens up some other stuff for them. I think Ayo can be in that same mold. I think he's obviously got a ways to go because those guys are incredible champion players, obviously Olympians. But I think that's the kind of mold that you're looking for. And I think a lot of that will start with, because he's not going to have the ball in his hands creating a ton of offense. I think being able to hit those threes when they're available and then attack those closeouts and make plays, that's really what's going to separate him and make him like an invaluable role player for this team, because we like some of these young pieces, right? Like Kobe's great. Modest, we're very excited about him. Patrick Williams, I think he can be a very good role player and hopefully expand his game even further. The Bulls have some nice pieces, but they need to be able to like create space and pace for each other to make the next best play and just continue to put pressure on the rim. Having guys that can get up a high volume of threes and make them at a 40% clip, and then make the next play if they have a hard closeout coming, that's what can really take his game to the next level. And then from there, you start to add in a little bit more shot creation. But for me, this season is going to be about how real was that hot shooting stretch that you had. Can you replicate that for a full season and turn up the volume even more? Because I mean, that's a special player. The way that he's defending, the way that he can, create plays off the closeout. When you combine that with really high level, high volume shooting, that's a really important player.
We all silly like the mayor.